Hi, my name is Igor Kafetz, and this is the List Building Lifestyle, the only podcast which delivers cutting-edge conversion strategies from the online trenches straight to your earbuds. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. I also invite you to grab a free copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. And now, once again, it's time to claim your list building lifestyle.
Hey, it's Igor. Real quick, before we dive into today's episode, I just wanted to give you a quick backstory to what happened today. So I'm chatting with Kameron George. Kameron is one of the, I would call them incognito affiliate marketers who are responsible for making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars with internet marketing funnels. He's primarily done work in the internet network marketing and internet affiliate marketing spaces, and you wouldn't believe the amount of money this guy's websites are making, as well as the amount of lives he touched and changed. In fact, some of the bigger names in the industry are, their success can be tied back to Kameron George. Now, what you need to remember when you listen to this interview is, first and foremost, this is going to be a bit more advanced of an interview than I usually do, because we're going to get into some really complicated terms such as user experience, such as framing and scaling. Now, these are really big concepts that can revolutionize anyone's business. And if right now you're struggling to get your first sale up and going, I highly recommend you take lots of notes. So if you're used to listening to my podcast while you're driving or while you're working out, you may want to listen to this one with a pen and a pad in hand. In addition, I also want to warn you that the audio quality on this one is not great. We actually had the call break up 6 times throughout the recording. I had to cut out a bunch of different segments, but eventually we were able to get a good 40 minutes of content for you down. So make sure you take lots of notes. Make sure you listen to every word that this guy's saying, because he single-handedly created more success stories than most gurus out there collectively ever will. So let me introduce you to Kameron George. Welcome back to another edition of the List Building Lifestyle with your host, Igor Kafetz. I've got Kameron George sitting down with me today, and we're chatting about affiliate internet marketing. Kameron is one of those names you don't really hear online, but he's responsible for ridiculous amounts of money made online and for ridiculous amounts of success stories. In fact, it's been a while since Kameron produced a campaign that generated less than $200,000 in profit, and specifically, in the last 12 months alone, 2 of his companies produced a collective $50 million in sale, all through affiliate internet marketing, all through online lead generation. Kameron, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me today.
It's my pleasure, Igor. I've been listening to your podcast for a while, and I love what you're doing here.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot coming from you, because even though most people listening to my podcast do not know this, you've been one of the, catalysts for this industry, because you've created many success stories. Many of the people we know to appreciate today as gurus and multi-millionaires in the online marketing space that go on to create educational companies and affiliate marketing companies, their success can be tracked back to you. You seem to know something most people don't, and this is my intent, my ideal goal, my ideal outcome for this call is to pick your brain and find out what is the fundamental strategy that you apply to all your affiliate promotions that allows you to create such tremendous results.
Well, I look forward to being able to share some of those ideas with you. And I think the main thing that you touched on there is that it's about principles. A lot of people get really hung up on the strategy, the technique, and they think of themselves as technician. They're looking for the hot new Facebook thing, or this little strategy over here that's here today, gone tomorrow. And the reality of what I teach and what I practice is it comes down to principles, things that last the test of time and are not just applicable today. They have been for the last 10 years, and they will be for the next 20 years or so.
Yeah, absolutely. People think it's a tactics business, but it's really a principles business, and we can actually track it back to direct response, right? Many of the things that I know today to be true and use in my business can be tracked all the way back to Gary Halbert, who used to operate strategically in the direct marketing space.
Absolutely. And that's the stuff that really matters and that's really important. It's not about the latest software, the latest technique. I mean, how we do a lot of our lead gen now, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff's irrelevant. It really comes down to the principles. At the end of the day, internet marketing, sales and marketing can be tied back to two things: traffic and conversion. And you can start to go deeper from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're talking to the traffic guy after all. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So before we started this interview, we chatted a little bit about user experience, which I know is a term that originates from the software development industry, the Silicon Valley. Now, I've been fortunate enough to come across a business partner who is well-versed in user experience. He helped really improve the overall user experience of Igor Solo Ads, and we continuously improve it to this day. But what I don't think most people recognize is how important user experience when it comes to the marketing process. So if you could, please help the list builders understand what user experience is and exactly how it is to be applied in our marketing.
Well, to me, it doesn't matter what business you're in, your real product is your user experience. And a lot of people, like you said, they tie this back to, like, for instance, if I was developing a software company, which I may or may not have, everything from the registration page where somebody is logging in to them setting up their account, to every little piece of it is so intentional. It's so specific. It's so strategic. It's intended to make it intuitive, meaning that somebody would be able to follow along naturally. They're not lost. They're not fumbling around. And I really believe that it's important that in the marketing space, it can be as simple as when we're running our very first affiliate campaign, we're trying to make that hard leap from making our first dollar online to being able to consistently make $10,000 per month online, is that you understand these same principles. The fact that what you are really designing inside of a marketing funnel is a user experience, that you need to be able to intentionally design, think through, and understand every piece of your funnel and how your visitors, how your traffic are experiencing it. From the moment that they see your ad to who is seeing your ad, the moment that they see your ad, what you're saying in your ad, your call to action, everything, to like really understanding the level of understanding that someone is going to have before they watch your ad, the level of understanding you're going to take them to by the moment they have finished watching your ad, all the way to the next step that you're going to take. And you really want to start thinking and chunking down every little step and piece of your experience. And this can be taken into an exponentially deep and complex conversation into, like, what are the leads that you're taking in today experiencing 2 years from now? It's obviously not necessary, but really just understanding the experience that you are designing for your traffic and your audience to experience of you, of your brands, of the products and services that you're promoting. Because at the end of the day, your real product, the real service that you are bringing to the marketplace is your user experience.
Now, this is a very, I would say, challenging idea for most people listening, because, I mean, a lot of people in our industry still don't get the idea that a product doesn't even have to be physical. Many of them are still stuck at the frame that products have to be physical. They still learn to appreciate the fact that the products can be digital. But now, what you're saying our product is not the actual thing we give them, but how we give it to them and how we engineer the way they consume it. Is that what you're trying to say?
It absolutely is. I don't care if you have a widget that you are sending it to them. The moment that they are finding out about your widget, to that widget landing in the widget that they're getting in the mail, to your follow-up to the people that have received that widget, every piece of that is the user experience, and that is your real product. And the companies that are winning and that are winning big, they know this and they understand it. Like, I get that some people, when they're just getting started out online and they're kind of the solopreneur, they've just got their head around the fact that money can be made online. They've just got their head around the fact that there is affiliate programs out there. They just got their head around the fact that they can license a product or sign up as an affiliate and be able to send traffic and visitors to that particular product and be compensated for it. They've just got their head around that. And they're just starting to get their head around some of these principles, that they can go to Facebook and that they can place ads, that they can buy traffic, that they can come to a traffic vendor like yourself and get a very targeted audience and get some endorsed traffic via a solo ad. They're just starting to get their head around some of these principles, and everything seems so new, seems so fresh. And a lot of times people find themselves bouncing around from idea to idea to idea to idea, instead of getting their head around these few core principles that I want to share over the little bit of time that we're going to have here today, so that they can really start to narrow in and focus on what really matters and what's going to produce results.
When you talk about user experience and the journey that we need to take the customer through from the moment they discover about our widget and all the way to, like, say 2, 3, 5 years from today, which is of course a very deep look, and it just shows how sophisticated you are in marketing because you think on that level. But let's just take it a step back and think about the moment when we struggle to make our first sale. And I work with a lot of people who have this problem. And what I find often enough is that the reason the money is not exchanging hands and the prospect doesn't commit is not because the offer is bad or the prospect doesn't have the money or anything like that, but simply because there's a gap between where the prospect is mentally and where the prospect needs to be in order to appreciate the offer that is being offered to them. In other words, this gap is what prevents, the sale from taking place. Now, my question to you is whether or not you've been noticing anything like that. And if you have, what do you do to bridge the gap?
That's a great question. That is exactly what we're talking about here. And that is the biggest mistake that people get, is they're talking to an audience. Like, I see people going on their Facebook talking about why someone needs to how they can generate leads. And they're talking to an audience that doesn't even know necessarily what a lead is, what the need would be for a lead. Like, they're literally talking to them at a different level. They don't have even an appreciation for the level of value or what that product is yet. And the thing that I would really like to empower your audience with today is kind of that sense of personal responsibility, that regardless of the products, offers, or whatever they're promoting, that they're taking kind of a personal responsibility on the framing to their audience. So have you ever heard of the study that they did at MIT about which talks about like a pre-frame?
No, but I think I know what a pre-frame is. But by all means, please share with us. So
this will all make sense in a moment after I'm going to loop back around in a long way, answer your question and make a point here. So at MIT, they basically had a speaker coming in. He was going to give a lecture. And they had a write-up on the professor who was going to give the lecture, and they split up the handout that they were going to give to the audience into two groups. One of them, it was a full bio of the speaker, and on one of them they were describing him as a cold teacher, as a cold individual, and the other they were describing as a warm. And they were identical other than that one word. They brought the gentleman in to give his lecture, give his speech, did the whole thing for obviously the same group, and had him leave. And then they wanted to survey the audience to see kind of what their feedback was. Now, within a 90-something% accuracy, the feedback that they were getting from individuals who had the bio that was describing him as a cold teacher, they were saying things like, I didn't feel like he was really interested in the information. I didn't feel like he was really here, or that he really cared. And meanwhile, all the people that had the bio that was describing him as a warm teacher were saying things like, I felt like he really cared about this. Like he was really focused. He was really attentive, that he was really passionate about the subject. Now, keep in mind, this was the exact same presenter. It was the exact same offer, if you will, giving to the exact same audience. And the only difference was one word. It was how they were pre-framed to look at this. And when I really want people to be able to keep this in mind, especially when we're thinking about the user experience, what frame of mind, how are people being framed when they're being approached, when they are experiencing your funnel, your offer for the first time, what are you doing to ensure that they're looking at it in the right way, that they're looking at it in the right mindset, that they have a very certain level of understanding before they're being approached or they're going through your sales materials? And a lot of times people, when they're just getting their head around being an affiliate, they're like, well, I got a link, I'm going to send it there. That's their problem. And I really want to empower your audience with taking on the personal responsibility of understanding that no, you and your user experience that you are sending your audience through is your responsibility, regardless of the offer, the affiliate programs, whatever it is that you're promoting, and that your funnel, how you're promoting it, who you're promoting it to, your user experience that you're designing is up to you, and that only you can put the very strategic, specific intention into how you go about this.
Yes, absolutely. So the frame in which the original idea doesn't have to be a speaker, right? It's just the idea that's introduced. The frame of it dictates the way we perceive it. And I've heard of a similar example when you can, like, if I were to introduce you on the show, I could quite literally use the exact same example you've just given us. And I can say, Kameron George is a cold, calculated, professional marketer. Or I can say, Kameron George is a warm, nice guy, calculated professional marketer. So the first instance you come across as this almost serial killer, cold, this distant person. And the second one is like the way you are in real life. You're warm, loving, this cool guy with tons of charisma that also happens to be a badass at marketing. So the frame dictates everything. And I've literally completed a training session today where I was teaching this to our inner circle members, where I told them, look, your job as an affiliate is not to close the sale. It's really not. Your job is to make the match, which means you must figure out where your prospect is mentally and where they need to be in order to appreciate the offer. Bridge that gap and send them off to check out the affiliate offer with an open mind. That's pretty much it. You're kind of like sending her off on a date, but you're not there to make her kiss him, and you're not there to make sure they get married. You're just there to pre-frame her date as being really just what she's been looking for all this time, in spite of her having tons of bad dates in the past, or in spite of this being even her first date and her not knowing what to expect. So it's all about the framing, which then dictates the perception, and perception is what leads to a great user experience.
Absolutely. See, we have the ability as marketers in this day and age to engineer perception. How do we want somebody to be looking at something? How do we want it to be viewed? How do we want it to be framed?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. In fact, I think I saw a YouTube video today where a professional social media influencer went on CNN or some other news channel, and he was blaming Mark Zuckerberg for controlling the frame that we have about the election, because he said that Zuckerberg said something when he was prosecutor or whatever that hearing was lately. He said something along the lines of, we'll get the next election or something like that, basically implying that they are now going to dictate to people through their newsfeed how to perceive the candidates.
And the crazy thing is that is what's possible in this day and age because of technology. We all live in a bubble. And that's where, like, right now, the biggest change that's happening, especially in the internet marketing space for people that are new to the space and that are just starting to really step into the space as an influencer, as an affiliate, starting to build their own list, starting to run promotions, is like, this is a new world for them. For the first time, they're stepping out into this new bubble. But most people are sitting inside of this bubble, and the bubble is getting smaller and tighter, if anything, because of the internet in certain ways, like the way that Facebook is adhering to our interests. They're trying to show us more of what's inside our bubble. Google is doing the same thing, and it's just creating more of this bubble and a smaller circle of influence in a lot of ways, which is like, it's good and bad. It's serving us, but it's closing us off in some ways to outside perspectives and opinions.
Yeah, and this is something that's one of the reasons why I don't get on social media anymore, besides the fact that it just hurts my productivity like hell. I just don't like the fact that I have to now consume so many opinions and frames. if that makes sense. Like, it's enough that I have to deal with it in my day-to-day life, but now it seems that everyone and their brother has the ability to control my frame. And the interesting part is that even if I'm resistant to it, I still fall under that influence because the brain is just works like that. It's enough for someone to suggest something in the form of a question, and I immediately start wondering that, which to me means I'm giving away control over my mind. Now, from a perspective of a self-sufficient, self-made man, that's of course not such a great thing. But from a perspective of marketing, that is a great thing because you get to control the frames that other people have about what you're marketing. And of course, Kameron, I'm sure you agree with me, but we have to say this. Look, this is really powerful stuff, and recognizing this concept can dramatically improve your conversions, if not outright change them completely. And you hold the responsibility to market things that are of value and do good in this world rather than manipulating people into buying shit they don't need.
And that's the big difference. To me, I believe it's always about coming from a frame of win-win. And I think in society, we naturally have this frame, especially like we're watching sports. In order for someone to win, someone else has to lose. And that's why there's always been this kind of like mentality. You can get it when you talk to somebody and they think that like you're trying to take advantage of them because like in order for you to win, that means I have to lose. And if I'm going to win, you're not going to lose. So, but versus this new frame, this different paradigm of win-win. How can we win together? And the most successful entrepreneurs, the most successful business people are always approaching everything in their lives looking for win-win. And the truth is, if you can't create a scenario, a situation where you're providing something of value and being rewarded equally, then you shouldn't be doing it. And I think that kind of goes without saying, but I just genuinely believe coming from a place of win-win.
Yeah. And so with that said, it's really important to recognize the opposite is that the marketplace is so noisy at this point that you have to be efficient at controlling other people's frames in order to be able to deliver your high quality, high value solution to them. Just like you, Kameron, was able to do that with all the great companies you've built, which again, we're not naming any particular names just to keep it clean. But basically, I know at least 3 companies that you've built where you were extremely effective at controlling the customer's frame in a way where you allowed for that to transformation to take place, right? Because of the value you deliver. So frame control, which can also be considered as manipulation by some people, when done for the greater good, is something that I truly believe one of the ways to change the world. And I don't want to get into like too big of a conversation, but honestly, Kameron, tell me, what do you think? Is it ethical for someone to control my frame if I'm really overweight and unhealthy, and for them to manipulate, quote unquote, manipulate my frame into losing weight and getting healthy?
And see that, I mean, when you really learn sales and marketing at the highest level, we have the free will to be able to apply these in any direction. I consciously choose to do good. I believe that the most powerful thing that any one of us can do is be an example of what's possible. So I choose to use my ability to influence and to inspire in order to help people move forward in a direction that is healthy and productive, that is going to lead to greater happiness and good. And I genuinely believe that that it's just making the world a better place, and that we all kind of need to take on that personal responsibility. But going back to what we're talking here about the user experience, about being able to control a frame, about being able to understand influence, it really can be distilled down to learning like 2 things: sales and marketing, traffic and conversions. Traffic is nothing more than being able to get your offer in front of the right people, and conversions is like, it's that conversion environment. To me, conversion, that sales funnel, the user experience that we're talking about, that's what's so key and so important. But ultimately, it comes down to like the best people, the number one skill that we're ultimately all learning, and the best entrepreneurs have learned and are mastering is understanding influence, is understanding sales, is understanding how to communicate effectively. And it's like, if we're really breaking this down into like, let's say you're playing a video game and there are all these different like attributes that you had, from like your health bar to your strength, your your dexterity. We're ultimately looking at like, what is your ability to like sell and influence? What is your ability to get your offer in front of people? What is your ability? How are they viewing that? You know what I mean? And like, those are the things those are kind of like the fundamental foundational things that people really need to be working on, and to understand and start taking responsibility for that now, I believe is very valuable. I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make when they first come into the affiliate marketing, internet marketing arena is they're disillusioned with how easy and effortless that it is going to be in order to create a result or income, that I just have to place this one ad and all the work's going to be done for me. And while that isn't not true, I mean, easy is a relative term. Placing ads online, learning how to sell, learning how to market, reading books, bettering yourself, that's a heck of a lot easier than working in the oil field industry where you're out at 5 o'clock in the morning having to friggin' run pipe. Like it is a relative term, right? But easy in the sense of something for nothing is a disillusion, disenchantment that I believe is kind of plaguing industry. And I do believe that people kind of need to get over and get past that and start to own the fact of who they need to become, the skills that they're going to have to learn, the things that they're going to be able to work on that are going to be able to produce them an income, results, and lifestyle that most people can't imagine.
Yeah, and I think it explains why so many people fail in the industry in terms of like the 95 or 96% that don't make anything and 4% who make a lot. I think it's those 4% what, and this kind of, no pun intended for, Vic Strizious's 4% group, but I think what the 4% have done well, and of course I attribute myself and yourself and anyone who makes more than, I would say 5 to 10K per month online to those 4%. We all come from a place of self-responsibility. In other words, we don't go around blaming other people, circumstances, traffic sources, and tactics on our failures. We approach the business from a standpoint of what do I need to do to get the great results, and if I'm not getting the good results, what am I not doing right? So that sense of responsibility that we put on ourselves is driving us towards success.
And that is a key distinction, I believe, that everybody has, that anybody who has achieved any sort of significant results has taken on. And that is really what I'm trying to say here is if you will take and you will own the user experience, you will own the funnel, that there is no offer, that there is nothing that if you're excited about that you couldn't promote effectively. And that really comes down to understanding one of the other key principles that I do believe that individuals need to understand, and that is the economics of the funnel and the things that you are promoting. And when you combine taking ownership of a user experience, depending on how shallow or deep that you go, gives you the ability, when you've taken responsibility of that, gives you the ability to dictate and grow and impact and affect the average customer value, the value that a customer has for you. And it's like, there's been no company, it doesn't matter the industry, it doesn't matter the niche, doesn't matter whether it's physical product, digital product, information, it does not matter. Well, you really ultimately have to understand the economics. And what I mean by that is, what is the cost that you are paying to acquire a customer? And what is that customer's value to you? That value to you is obviously going to be, that value to you, the value that customer has to you is directly proportionate to that user experience.
Yeah, absolutely. The more addictive, I don't want to say addictive because it's not really the term here, but the more intuitive, I would say, your user experience within your sales funnels. By the way, I really want to put this into practical terms for people who aren't really familiar with the concept. When we talk about your user experience, what we really talk about is your funnel, is your marketing material being able to elegantly move the prospect along this discovery path for up until the point where they start consuming your programs and products, and do it in a way where before they can even ask the question, you're already answering that question for them. That's true both for your content and for your marketing. This is something we chatted about before we started recording this interview. So user experience is primarily your sales funnels, your content, your emails. Okay, that's not something that's outside of your locus of control, such as your affiliate link, which is pretty much, it's set as it is. You get it, you can't change it. The only things you can change is the pre-frame and the kind of content slash marketing or marketing content that your potential customers are consuming or going through prior to being exposed to your affiliate link. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I would like to add this one thing is that when you're taking into account, like if I'm putting a product, if I have an affiliate product that I'm promoting in there that I'm recommending, after somebody has purchased that product and they've consumed it, they have a new level of understanding, meaning that I need to take into account what is inside of the products that I'm promoting, because that is now a piece of my user experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is profound. Most people don't think that way. I think for most people, when it comes to designing the user experience for their customers, it ends somewhere on the sales page.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, when we're first getting started, the first thing we're starting to learn how to do is I'm looking to put up a line. I'm getting a basic funnel done. And this brings me to, like, there's ultimately 3 phases that I take every single business through. Every single business ties into these 3 phases. And that is the 3 phases of build, optimize, and scale. Now, most of the people that are listening to this are probably still in the build phase. Some of them maybe think that they got through it, even if they've already made 6 or 7 figures. I've literally consulted and worked with clients that probably a lot of your listeners have heard of that have done this wrong, but still managed to have success. Just because you manage to have success doesn't mean that it can be consistent or that it is duplicatable and repeatable. However, when you apply what I'm telling you here right now, it becomes that. And most people, so you build, optimize, and then scale. The holy grail, the point where you're going to have a business that is consistently producing 6, multiple 6, 7, or multiple 7 figures is when you get to the point of being able to scale. Now, what means that you have the ability to scale means that you have a campaign where you know without an irrefutable doubt that when you put $1 in, you're getting at least 2 out, meaning that you know how much it is going to cost you with absolute certainty to be able to acquire a visitor to your website, to be able to acquire a lead, to be able to acquire a customer. You know absolutely what it is going to cost you to acquire that customer, and you know based on averages and metrics what that customer is going to be worth to you. You cannot scale a campaign without understanding those numbers and those economics. Any action taken without knowing that is gambling, period.
Absolutely.
It is not. So when you understand those, and that's ultimately what we want to get to. How you get there is by building properly. So build phase is just when you put together, like I have the offers that I'm going to promote. Let's say I've licensed a high ticket product, or I've signed up for an affiliate program that I really like and understand. It's the ad creative that I'm going to put out there. I'm going to design an ad. I'm going to design my landing page. I've put an offer together, and I've got this very basic user experience. It's going to lead them up to purchasing that very first product, where I've communicated effectively to an audience very effectively and made it intuitive for them to learn, know, and understand the need, desire, and key points that are going to have them make a buying decision. And I'm doing this in a way that is enjoyable, meaning that, personally, this is the way I like to approach things. To me, every sales piece that I've ever made, people have thanked me for, meaning that whether they bought or not, they were like, thank you so much. And I have a very basic philosophy that I'm always going to leave a good taste in people's mouth. I don't feel the need for a hard close. I believe that if they can see and understand the value for what they need, and I can make the right offer at the right time to the right audience, that they're going to take that action. And that marketing to me is more of a sifting and sorting, and it's not convincing, if that makes sense. So in the build phase is when we're putting together that very basic framework. We're putting together that very basic user experience where we're building our first ad. We're setting up our first landing page. We're getting our first video sales letter in there. We're putting our first few emails in place to be able to follow up with them. There's very basic tactics and strategies to get them there. That's the build phase. Obviously, a build phase can go deeper into what happens after they've bought that product. How are we walking them through and exposing them to our other products and stuff? That's the build phase, and that's where most people are. And it's actually the phase that most people have done wrong. And why I say that they've done it wrong is because they haven't taken step 2 into account, which is optimize. And this is where all the magic happens. Without optimizing effectively, you cannot scale. You can't get the numbers. You can't get the information that you need. Now, a proper build phase, although yes, we are building out our ad, We're building out our landing page. We're starting to build our list. We're sending our follow-up emails. We have the very basis of our user experience. We need to understand that as marketers, we are really testing at all times. So I want people to more take an approach of like a lab coat, that everything is a hypothesis, that I'm going to give it my best try with my best understanding, and I want to go be able to do that effectively. So when we build something, what most people do wrong is they don't set it up for split testing. They don't build 2 ads. They don't build 2 landing pages. They're not like testing any of their ideas. They haven't set it up. They haven't set up tracking properly, and they haven't set up any way to be able to split test things properly, to be able to try out these ideas. The reality is that no ad campaign that I've ever run has been successful out of the gate. I've had different initial ideas. I've tested it. I've grown it. And the successful marketing campaigns are created. They're created through proper optimization. Here's what I mean by that, is that when you do this build phase properly, you put tracking in place, you have a couple of your ideas that you're trying to be able to kind of distill this down and figure out what your audience really wants. Because that's really what it is. It is a process of figuring out what your audience really wants. Like, we don't know how to read minds. No one expects you to know this stuff right out of the gate. You learn this stuff from taking action, from putting your best ideas out there in the best way that you possibly can, by taking action and starting to design your very first funnel properly, starting to really take the intention of laying out a user experience, and then starting to test it. And when you test that, and when you start like putting it out there in the wild, you start going to people like you, Igor and Brian Trav, you start going and placing ads on Facebook. As those people come through, you're going to see how they're responding to the different messages. And that is the optimization phase, where you're looking at the stats. If I generated 200 clicks, what did they turn into leads? And it's at that point that you're just optimizing and dialing in your funnel to the point where you know that you can test small, meaning that I can go spend small amount on ads before I'm ever going to scale big. And I've seen clients that have spent, in some cases, over $100,000 without anything to show for it, because they just tried to throw a ton of money at a campaign, at an affiliate offer, at a funnel that was given to them or that they first put out. And it's unfortunate because they weren't applying these philosophies and principles that can virtually guarantee your success.
Yeah, you're basically letting the marketplace tell you what works and what doesn't. And of course, before you can do that, you need to have the version 1.0 of your funnel, which most people don't have, which is what really holds them back, because they're afraid to even create that, because they want to get it perfect from the first time. But here's what I can tell you. I've learned way more from my failures. I've learned way more from the campaigns that didn't work than from campaigns that worked right off the gate, because the ones that worked right off the gate, I was never able to tell exactly why. I could only guess. But when I launch a campaign and it completely fails, and then I relaunch it with a different angle or overcome an objection of some kind, and it succeeds, then I know I learned a little bit more about the marketplace, which, of course, after years of doing that, you end up developing this very clear idea of what you can and cannot do. And then your business gets very predictable. Now, Kameron, look, I know we can go on and on and on and on for hours talking about this stuff. Unfortunately, we're just out of airtime. So what I would like to do is I would like to point the list builders to a place where they can find out more about you, and where they can go and get more of your material, probably, okay, and I'm guessing here, probably in the form of blueprints, checklists, and in a systematized form that will allow them to quickly and easily implement everything we've discussed today and more in their own businesses.
Absolutely. They can feel free to just go to my personal website, CameronGeorge.com, or feel free to search me up on any form of social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I love when people reach out, and I'm definitely going to be producing a lot more content in the future. You can think of this interview a little bit as my coming out party, and there's going to be a lot more content and training. And I really love being able to help people bridge this gap. Where my sweet spot is I love taking people from 7 figures to multiple 7 figures, but it doesn't mean that anybody should be left behind. And I do believe that anybody who has access to the right framework, the right information, and the right guidance regardless of their background, has the ability to be able to create a full-time income online. And that's what I love so much about what you're doing here with your podcast. So please, for anybody who does want to reach out to me, have contact, look me up on social media, or just go over to CameronGeorge.com.
All right, so guys, you heard the man. It's CameronGeorge.com with a K, right? Cameron with a K. Or Cameron's also very active on social media. He's got a bunch of YouTube videos. He's live on Instagram. He's on Facebook. He's everything I am not. So go on and look him up. Kameron George with a K. Again, very important, with a K, Kameron with a K. Get on his social media, whatever, and make sure to be on the website. Get on his main list. Do whatever you want, because if you'd like to learn how to play the big game, right? How to dive into the deep end of the pool when it comes to internet marketing, how to produce these multi-six figures and multi-seven figures campaigns, Kameron is the dude to learn from. And you want to be consuming as much of his material as possible, because just talking to him prior to this interview alone, I took a bunch of notes, and I'm going to go ahead and implement that to scale our business. So, Kameron, again, thank you very much for taking out the time out of your busy schedule. Well, who am I kidding? You're not busy. You're working like 3 hours a week. Come on. So, but anyway, it's been difficult enough to get you on the show. So I really appreciate you making the time to rap with me and the List Builders. And guys, once again, to learn more from Cam, go ahead and look him up on social media, or check out CameronGeorge.com. And until next time we chat, have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the List Building Lifestyle. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to never miss an episode. Because who knows, just one conversion tactic we share on the show might double your list and double your business. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. And don't forget to claim your complimentary copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. This is Igor Kafetz, and until next time we talk, have a good one.